Hello there YouTubers, this is TigerWhite007 here. Now many people have been posting on forums, making videos on YouTube, all over the internet, basically asking Nintendo when will Wave Race come to the Wii U, or is it coming to the next gen console, codenamed the NX? Well, here's the reality. The reality is it's been 14 years since Wave Race Blue Storm debuted on the Nintendo GameCube. 6 years before that, we had Wave Race 64. Now, Wave Race 64 was legendary in the fact that amazing graphics, and it had absolutely amazing water effects, and the gameplay was solid, and it felt like a very strong game. You could almost believe for a second that, you were actually on a jet ski in the game. That's how immersive the game felt. Wave Race Blue Storm, on the other hand, another groundbreaking game in visuals. I would even say that it's one of those titles that pretty much showed that the GameCube was more graphically capable than the Xbox and the PlayStation 2 at the time. Some people might argue and say, well, nah, that doesn't sound correct at all. But the fact of the matter is, it was a beautiful game, beautifully crafted graphically, sound was good too. I would say the sound probably on the 64 version, the Nintendo 64 version, was a little bit better. Some might disagree. Wave Race 64 was revolutionary. Wave Race Blue Storm, although a very good game, was not quite revolutionary. There's something missing from it, and I think that's where Nintendo went wrong with the Wave Race franchise. Wave Race Blue Storm is one of my all-time favourite games for the Nintendo GameCube, and probably the best Wave Race game ever made. But it didn't sell very well. The GameCube itself didn't sell very well. The GameCube in Australia did not do very well at all. I'm pretty sure only 35,000 consoles were sold here in Australia, with a population of 22 million people. That's pretty bad, considering the fact that the Wii, when it was released, sold 1.1 million consoles here in Australia alone. Now, the game might have cost a lot of money to develop. It might not have. It might have been one of those easy projects behind closed doors. Who actually knows? Nobody actually really knows what went on with the development process. Although a fantastic game, there's just something in the gameplay that's lacking. It feels more like a really, really good tech demo, or something that you might even give away with the console, because it doesn't seem like it's that big in size. I'll say maybe Wave Race Blue Storm was a little bit too late for Nintendo, considering the fact that the PlayStation 2 came to the market, 2 years before it. Already had hundreds of games by then. So personally, I would love to see another Wave Race game, especially on the Wii U, something like the Wii U or the next gen console. But you've got to ask yourself, why didn't it come to the Wii? Now, you had games like, I would say that Wave Race is probably on par with games like Excite Bike. Of course, Nintendo came out with Excite Truck back on the Wii, which I think was a really silly idea. I didn't like it at all. I didn't think it was anything like the original Excite Bike game, which was just all about simplicity, and not about being the best graphically or whatever. I mean, the Wii wasn't the best graphically anyway. But the fact of the matter is, that kind of got butchered, just like I think maybe Wave Race Blue Storm butchered the Wave Race series. Who actually knows? There are a few people out there like myself who would love, another Wave Race game. But just because I feel nostalgic about something, and something, feels right to me, doesn't mean it's going to suit the next generation. Now, I've got to stop and think for a second. It's not about my generation. It's not about the fact that I'm 26 years old and I love playing, those old school Nintendo games, and they're my favorites, etc. It's not about what I like. It's about the new generation who are going to be the ones funding all the next generation games. Basically making the standards for what games will be the next generation, which may or may not be good. Splatoon, for example, I absolutely hate Splatoon. I don't know why I bought it. Art style is just not good to me. The gameplay is just all over the place. It's just not a very fun and exciting game. Even the colors used in the game just feel dull, when Nintendo is supposed to be all about color and fun. Is there any chance for another Wave Race game? Probably not. If there is, it will definitely happen on the NX. Will it make a huge comeback? I don't think it will be as huge. I think it's one of those games where it was good for its time and it set a standard for future games and genres, but it's a little bit too late. It's not 1996. Now, Wave Race on the GameCube, I felt, had a little bit of those smoothness issues in the gameplay. Now, the graphics were great, water effects were great, lighting was great, it looked fantastic back on those old square TVs. It still looks okay on a HD TV. Maybe not on a 4K HD TV, but a 1080p set, it looks alright. It looks alright for a game from 2002, almost 14 years ago. Some of you might be watching this video thinking, holy crap, time flies. Time does fly. The days go by really, really quickly. GameCube had a lot of great games. Some people would say, well, if Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, came out, which is an old GameCube game, if that came to the Wii U, then there's chance for other games to come to Wii U. Possibly. The difference with that game is that game had cel-shaded graphics. Wave Race has a lot of motion mechanics in it that try to be lifelike. So let's just say that even if you upgraded the graphics of Wave Race Blue Storm to Wii U, HD standards, you're still not going to get the same fluid effect as porting a game like Wind Waker into HD. Because all they're really doing for Wind Waker is just upgrading the pixels, whereas with Wave Race, you've still got things will they'll look better, but the physics of the characters will become very jerky and very last gen, which will make it seem as if the game wasn't very well made. Even though it could look okay, it won't seem like it's very well made. Water effects will start to become very mediocre looking, and they'll just start looking very, very strange. The point I'm trying to make is you can't just port an old game into HD without there being some kind of physics problems because if you're going to upgrade the graphics, then you have to start upgrading the physics, and that becomes a process in which you were just going to polish the game off the way it looks, but the physics come into play as well, and you start to have issues, with shadows, and the game will just look really weird. It will look strange, and people will think, well, why did you bother trying to come out with it if it's not polished and it doesn't look complete? That's the difference here. You could do that with a Zelda game because of its art style. You can't do that with a game like Wave Race. Well, let's just say that Wave Race 64 seemed like it was trying to be as close to real life as possible. Wave Race Blue Storm seemed a little bit like it was trying to be a little bit more cartoonish, a little bit more artistic, which might have been its downfall. Who actually knows though? Nobody actually really knows why it went the direction it did.